Hi everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a very special tarot-scope for the month of October, taking a look at how the celestial events are likely to play out in the lives of each of the 12 zodiac signs. And of course there is an element of guidance here. And the reason why I have decided tarot-scope over my usual astrology is because, well, from an astrological perspective, there isn't that much to be said. Because, we have a lot of tensioned aspects, a lot of energy of conflict, rage, strife, confusion, Mercury retrograde, Mars squaring Pluto, Mars conjunct Aries. So that is rebellion, revolution, unhappiness, dissatisfaction, disappointment. So basically it is really doom and gloom. Of course, all of this doom and gloom, all of this pain, all of these inconveniences are so very necessary, because all of this is gonna turn around in a very miraculous way as we get towards December. But that's December, this is October. So rather than to speak about doomy and gloomy things and purges and suffering, pain, everything that was left behind from the past returning, I rather choose to basically subtract myself from this responsibility and just give it into the hands of the universe, where the divine intelligence can just speak through the cards and through the channeling, of course, whatever it thinks it's best. So it's not really my opinion, it is not my vision, it has nothing to do with my astrological style and interpretation, and I do believe it is much better this way, because on one hand, everything that we astrologers speak and put out there in the world, well, we also consolidate it. We also make it that much real. And, I don't think the world needs more pain, more suffering, more turmoil, more poverty, more doom and gloom. Because naturally, there are gonna be certain people for whom all of this chaos is actually really beneficial. It is healing. It is determining them to get their lives back. It is maybe for some people they're breaking like 20, 30 years of bad karmic cycles. So for them this is actually a miraculous moment, a miraculous turning point, despite the pain and the inconveniences, limitations, whatever. And of course, on the other hand, if I would twist and turn my astrological interpretations in such a way to make it look really positive, to focus on the big picture, that everything's gonna be okay and everything is gonna turn into a miraculous resolution, solution, etc. Even though that is part of the truth, but that is not me, and this way I can still speak my truth, but not in a way where I consolidate something really negative. So this is the philosophy, my personal idea behind this tarot-scope. So I really hope you enjoy it and you are going to find it useful, because it also has a lot of guidance. Now let us take a look at what the cards have to say for natives born under the sign of Aries. Now, from an astrological perspective, natives born under the sign of Aries are one of the major power players of this astrological picture, because Mars, their ruling planet, is in their home sign, and it's also retrograde, and it is also connecting with very strong planets, some of which are in Aries, for example, Aries, Dark Moon, Lilith, and then the Capricorn planets, where it forms a square with. So, one way or another, Aries natives are in a lot of turmoil, are in a lot of stress. May that be internal, or may it be totally external. So for you guys, the cards are the Ace of Swords and the Five of Wands reversed. And I do believe that this is the most positive side of this energy. Well, because let's start with the clarifier and not the main card, the Five of Wands reversed. Now the Five of Wands in upright position represented the period before Mars went retrograde, where there could have been a lot of conflict, a lot of strife, misunderstandings, broken desires, broken will, disappointment, feeling not strong enough to face all the challenges that life throws at you. So, you are already past the worst of the worst. You're already aligned with a greater wisdom that there are certain things in life which we simply cannot change and we cannot have any power over, no matter how much we fight, no matter how we ambition ourselves. Basically, no matter what we do, there are things which we cannot change, especially if those elements that we need to change are other people, relations, our colleagues, our job. And when I say job, I don't necessarily understand the practicality of the job, what it is that you have to do, etc. But rather the team, the colleagues, the people at the job, maybe the clients, the customers. So basically, just a couple of weeks ago, all of these things really, really challenged you, and your life could have been an ongoing battle, either externally, where you just had to stand up for yourself, for your principles, for your own integrity, not to be bossed around, not to be used. But for other people, this could have represented an inner battle where they had to just simply fight with either their hopes, their faith, their bad psychological patterns, their negative self-talk. So there was a massive fight in the lives of the natives of Aries, regardless from which perspective. It can be simply fight with other people. It can also be fight with destiny, with external reality in general itself. But it can also be an inner psychological battle where you are fighting for your truth, for your dignity, to rediscover yourself, but not just to know, but also to live life the way you actually desire in your hearts of hearts, because that is you, that is who you are. That does not need to change at all. But because this Five of Wands is reversed, well, that is a really, really good sign, because the battle is finally stopping. There is going to be truce, either regardless of what this conflict, what this battle, or what this competition, because it can also represent a competition where you just slave drive yourself to be the first, on top, the best, etc., to excel, to prove yourself. And also be the symbolism of the Five of Wands. It can also represent a competition where you just have to motivate yourself to such a strong, elevated levels where greatly excel over others. Your standards are, in the heavens, and that's absolutely fine because it does certain things, it gets the job done, but it is only a temporary state because it requires so much effort and energy, and ultimately 100% it leads to burnout. So it is this strive, this investment of excessive energy, ambition, and that fiery soul of Aries natives that is finally going to stop. It is finally going to cease. And how? Well, we have a very positive and uplifting card, the Ace of Swords. Now, the Ace of Swords can represent so very many things. It can be like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that simply falls into your lap. And regardless of the nature of that, it can be a job offer or a win or a social connection or anything. It doesn't really matter, because its main effect is it will allow you to be yourself, unchallenged, unquestioned. So basically, it will give you an inner peace where every single day is going to be about, well, I am myself, I'm living my life as I want it, as it fits me the best, and I'm so happy for the simple fact that I can do this. The rest doesn't really matter. So basically, the main energy here the Ace of Swords, that is the truth, the psychological and mental empowerment necessary to live your life the way it is most comfortable for you. And when you are in that state of comfort, when you are in a state of liberty of being exactly who you are, good or bad, moody or calm, whatever, it is happiness to you. And from such a state, from such a place, you basically will not shy away or back away from any problem. You will feel that you have enough strength, enough power, enough proficiency, and the Ace of Swords, naturally intelligence, to overcome any situation. So that it means that you are not going to be in a state of fear, no matter what happens in your life, in your relationship, and most importantly, on the world stage. Even if the world collapses, even if the comet is coming, of course, this is a joke, it's not going to happen. You are going to be more than ready and not afraid whatsoever. This is where you embody your bravest and most courageous self. And it's not just courage in the heart, but it's also perfectly aligned with your mental sphere. This is where you have already purged out every single self-defeating thought which sends you into a state of fear. And because this Ace of Swords also represents living in truth, knowing exactly everything that you do need to know about your life, about other people, about certain situations which are important in your life. Because of this truth, because you are one way or another are going to align with your own truth, but your own truth is not going to contradict external reality, well, that gives you a peace of mind, and that ultimately gives you the power of foresight, of diligence, and to make very solid plans, but also the wisdom to know that when those plans are not ideal, when the moment is not ideal, you can wait, you can be patient, you can simply choose to preserve those plans and your thoughts inside of yourself and act, make the decision, make the choice when the opportunity arises. And because of this psychological attitude, which is so very healthy and so very proficient, it is exactly how the month of October is gonna play out for you personally. The opportunities are always gonna show up at the best and most appropriate times, exactly because of your patience. Because that Five of Wands, is reversed. So you're not full of rage, you're not full of anger, you're not full of impatience, because you have learned that by now. So you're just waiting, you're taking things very patiently, rationally. You are also absolutely open to pain, disappointment, any emotions of any nature, because you want to know the truth and you want to see the truth, and this is going to be your key to success. So, in conclusion, it is going to be a month when a lot of battles, sources of conflict, inner or outer, with other people, are finally going to disappear from your heart, from your mind, and from your soul. So this is basically the energy of peace and comfort. Now, of course, certain connections, friendships, even familiar relationships are gonna be terminated and the bridges are gonna be burned, but not with drama, not with, fights, but rather in a very calm, rational, and rather diplomatic way, where you just speak your truth, you just show them why you cannot be in this relationship anymore, regardless of its nature, and that's it. No drama, no conflict, no fights, no anger. Basically, regardless of what that conflict is, or regardless of what that relationship which needs to be terminated, regardless of its nature, they won't have any other choice but to simply accept your decisions. And as soon as, sources of disappointment, stress, misunderstanding disappear from your life, you're gonna feel more and more and more empowered and better about yourself and more comfortable in your life and who you are. When there is no source of comparison, when there is no criticism constantly, why not this, why not that, don't do it that way, you're too Aries, for example, you're too passionate or you're too impulsive. When all of this disappears from your life, you're gonna be so very fine, and October is gonna be a major stepping stone towards that life of peace and serenity that you truly need right now. For natives born under the sign of Taurus, the month of October is going to be really, really emotional, but in a rather and surprisingly positive way. Now for you guys, these energies, according to your cards, which are the Six of Coins and the Six of Cups, now this is a really karmic energy. In certain ways, some karma which sources from the very, very distant past, maybe childhood, school years, university years, or when you were at the very start of your working life, your career, etc. And this can mean different things for different natives. Now for some of them, during that period in the distant past, when you were much younger, when you were at the start of this fantastic journey called life, so to speak, there might have been some really bad or negative or distressful fated events which simply changed your life. It can be, for example, a relationship breaking up which left you, in a state of years of depression or heartache. It could have been an accident which you suffered. It could have been some kind of misfortune. It could have been a massive loss. It could have been where, for example, maybe you were a really, really good student, or you had good studies, you were really, really ambitious and professional, but despite of all your efforts, one way or another, for any kind of reason, your first job attempt to get a career was a massive failure, and you're over that. So don't get me wrong, it is not a trauma, it is not anything negative, because it was already processed, it was already accepted. So it is just a memory, it is just, a chapter of your life which you cannot really forget, but it's not like you allow it to have any influence on you. For other people, it can also be, for example, a divorce, or even losing a family member. It can be, for example, death, the death of a loved family member. So it doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it's already done and done with and processed. But from a karmic perspective, it's not really over yet, but not in a way that it has anything to do with the people involved in the past and stuff like that. But rather, the universe, your own karma, owes you a compensation because you might have suffered excessively. You might have suffered that much, and it might have caused you so very severe psychological prejudices, for example, that it imbalanced all of your life and all of your destiny. But because you were so very brave and strong, and you processed it, and you found forgiveness, you found closure, it is now when Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter in the sign of Capricorn, and they're squaring Mars, that is the activation of karma, as in any kind of karma, even karma with sources from past existence, or going back to the distant past in this life. That is a very powerful karmic activation. So the universe is going to compensate you one way or another. It can be a material compensation, Six of Coins, where the divine just gives you some material benefit which will make you so very, very happy, because it will actually fill a spot that has a big void in it. So something that you lack in your life right now. It is not dramatic, it is not something that is causing you suffering, but filling that need would be so very pleasant and useful, and that is exactly what's gonna happen. But for other people, it's gonna be like filling an emotional void. It can be a fantastic new friendship. It can be reconnecting with a wonderful friend you had in the distant past, from which, fate separated you from. Not because of conflict or anything like that, but everyone has to go their own ways at one point in life. So it is this kind of situation. So it doesn't really matter what happened in the distant past. What actually matters is that the karmic energies source from that imbalance, and they're gonna compensate you one way or another, making your life much happier, making basically you to upgrade your, how should I even say it, spiritual philosophies, because whatever that is, what you suffered in the distant past, you might have came to the conclusion that there is no justice in the world. Human justice is laughable, so that wasn't even taken into consideration, but that might be a point in time when you were actually disappointed even in divine justice, and that is how you lived your life, that there is no justice in the world. And this is when the universe proves you wrong, that there is divine justice in the world, just that sometimes it does take a lot of time, tens of years even. So not only is that bad event that happened in the past gonna be somehow compensated, but also from a spiritual perspective, this is when your true soul level faith in the justice of the universe, of the divine, is gonna be finally restored. And that is gonna matter so much, because it will give you the courage, the spiritual courage, that you can actually rely on the universe, that the universe is benevolent, to do certain things that you didn't have courage to do until this present moment. Like, let me give you an example. Maybe for some people, they delayed an exam, like a driver's license exam or something, which would be really practical because of a fear or a trauma or a disappointment they suffered in a very distant past or their childhoods. They will have the courage to go to a certain place, a place that would really inspire them and mean a lot to them, but for any reason they avoided it, either because it's dangerous or any personal reason. Or if it's a childhood friend or a person, these karmic forces are going to reconnect the Taurus native. Well, that will basically give birth to a totally different feeling of life. Because if that person was your soulmate, and I'm telling you here that it's not romantic love, it is rather friendship or a very strong soul connection. It's that kind of relationship. It is going to make your life infinitely beautiful, because they will add positivity, optimism, humor, and this ability to just ignore the outside world. When you have so much happiness and a true soul level connection in your life with someone who understands you deeply, well, none of the external drama will matter anymore. So either way, it is going to be some very powerful karmic event that is going to make your life that much better. But of course, this might not happen in a very instant way. This is something that might slowly but surely build up all throughout October, and then maybe on the 23rd of October, or maybe going into next month, this karmic bomb, this positive karmic bomb, is gonna detonate, and then surprise, surprise, this might be one ways that Uranus in your sign, Uranus the planet of shock surprises, is gonna delight you, it is gonna reward you, it is gonna quantum leap you into something that you have always dreamed about of living, but this is more like a lifestyle, not anything like practical. Now for other natives still, this can also play out as a lifelong friend who you had in your life and you still have. It is a relationship that is almost permanent part of your life. Well, something massive happens to this person, as in a good sense, of course. Maybe a big breakthrough or a massive gain or an inheritance or something. And guess who is going to be the first beneficiary of their generosity? Naturally, the Taurus natives, their best friends or buddies or soulmates or whatever you call each other. This is where someone is gonna share something really, really big with you. And everyone's life is gonna be that much better because of this very strong karmic energy, the karmic patterns. So this might be a month that you're never gonna forget. For natives born under the sign of Gemini, this is also going to be a really, really important month, but one of closures. The first half of the month can actually sting a little bit because you are in for a very rude awakening and I'm not even sure what word to use to describe this properly, because I don't want to intimidate you, I don't want to frighten you, because the overall picture is so very positive, but it's going to be like rubbing salt in the wound, but in a very intense manner, so that it hurts even mentally, but it is exactly this hurt that is going to set you free once and for all. Now, it isn't just as simple as that, because Gemini still is, unfortunately, one of the signs which really, really, really suffered from this Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter transit in the sign of Capricorn. So all this turmoil began from the year 2017, and this was like a sinus, this was like up and down. This is like going to the biggest heights you could possibly go and then falling, a free fall, taking you straight into the abyss. For a lot of Gemini natives, these 3 years were like sheer insanity. But this is why Gemini is such a dual sign, because even the karmic forces are very dual in their lives, up and down. Great highs reaching the stars and then falling down into the depths of the abyss and then having to do it all over again. And kind of this is how the past 3 years were in their lives. Saturn, Pluto, and now with Jupiter there as well in their 8th house. That is a very heavy energy. That is challenging financially. That is challenging all your relationships, all your contracts, work, everything that you can, family life, everything that you could possibly think of. But the 8th house is also the place in the sky where the most profound transformation, regeneration, and ultimately rebirth takes place. And rebirth takes a lot of time. It is not just 9 months when a baby is born. It is, you also have to die first, as in digest yourself, abandon your ego, allow the ego to die, then rediscover your true identity from all your passions, desires, everything you love in your hearts of hearts. And that is when you're gonna build your cocoon and start being reborn, so to speak, reformatting yourself. And then finally, when you're ready, you break out of the cocoon and start a new life with this new identity you have discovered within yourself. Now, this is just symbolically speaking. That doesn't mean that every single Gemini native is going through the same thing, but chances are a lot of Geminis do have this in their life for the past 3 years. Now, your cards are the 5 of Cups and the 6 of Swords, and this also implies that one of the biggest changes that has taken place in your lives, over the past 3 years, is that you became that much more responsible. You embodied spirit of duty, spirit of sacrifice. You did everything that you could for your family, for your partner, for your child, for your loved ones. You even sacrifice certain things which are absolutely mind-blowing. You could have never imagined in your life ever that you would be capable of these big gestures, to be so strong, to be so selfless, to be so down to earth, and at certain times not to think about yourself and your own needs and your feelings whatsoever. This is where you concentrated on someone or something that mattered to you the most. And even though, even if you don't perceive it this way, even if you don't see it this way right now, it was a massive success, at least from a karmic perspective. Well, this is where you broke or fulfilled, completed, manifested all of your soul contracts. Everything that you owed to another being, to another person, from this life, from other lifetimes, even going beyond. Well, in these past 3 years, you did that. You completed. It's finished. It's done. And you are free already. Just that you might not necessarily realize that you're already totally free. And this is the moment when you have to return to your true Gemini self. One who is lighthearted. One who doesn't take life seriously. One who sacrifices everything for freedom and for simply the joy of life. There is a very, very specific reason why Gemini is called the adolescence of the zodiac, because you guys make life that much fun. You guys make life worth living, not just physically, but mentally. The humor, the randomness, the flirtation, everything that makes you who you are. You're like a breath of fresh air. It is, in the tarot, you guys are the lovers, because you make everyone around you happy, full of passion, full of joy, laughter. Of course, you're so very magnetic, and it is exactly this beauty about your archetype that was stripped away and taken away from you these past 3 years. That is exactly why that Five of Cups is so very important for you guys, because this is when you reach the moment. Enough is enough. Even if you consciously realize this, or if it's just your unconscious who takes and figures out stuff, you kind of know that everything is finished. All your duties, obligations, etc. are done and dusted. So this Five of Cups represents that regardless if people lean on you, use you, leech you, try to take advantage of you, or try to manipulate you by, appealing to your empathy and compassionate spirit that you embody, because this is what you were doing in the past 3 years. So everyone in your life kind of takes this for granted. They think that this is actually who you are. And not just you, but other people are going to be deeply disappointed, because this is when you say it ends here. It doesn't matter if it's a job. It doesn't matter if it's a marriage. It doesn't matter what situation it is. This is when you're going to cast everyone who tries to use you out of your life once and for all. Symbolically speaking, this is a moment when, let's say, a group of hyenas surround a porcupine, and there comes a very special moment when the porcupine just shoots the quails in all directions, and everyone gets a mouthful of those spikes and thorns. And this is basically what the Five of Cups is telling you. One way or another, it doesn't matter of the situation, those people around you are gonna get a mouthful of your quails. And in a very peaceful manner, so it's not conflict, not drama, not anything like that. You just say no, and they would not expect that no. And they might even think that you're joking until they realize that you're not joking at all. And when they realize this, they're gonna show their true colors, what they truly think and feel about you, that you're just someone they use. And then this Five of Cups is gonna be mutual, and then those relationships are gonna be done and dusted. And then comes the Six of Swords, which means your freedom. Now, it doesn't really tell us what this freedom means and how it's gonna play out in your life, but it does tell us that it's gonna be quick, because you're Gemini, of course you're quick. And you're gonna quantum leap into a life where you're truly comfortable with yourself, you're truly comfortable living it, and chances are 90% of your acquaintances, friends, circle of friends, social connections are gonna be gone from your life, and you're gonna feel so very good about yourself, And of course, what comes next, especially in 2021, well, you build up a different circle of friends, people who are truly like you and will get you no matter what. And there will be no begging, there will be no leeching, there will be no constant babysitting them psychologically. This is where everyone is going to be truly equal. So, in conclusion, there are going to be a lot of painful moments when the truth is going to be told and expressed from both sides. But for you guys personally, even if it stings then, it will only sting and hurt for a couple of seconds, so to speak, because you're going to be so very, very grateful for your freedom and this chance to truly be who you are, your true optimistic and light-hearted self. It is so easy to be optimistic when your inner design kind of helps you not to take life so seriously, and why should you? So this is basically how that magic of Mars squaring Pluto and Saturn is going to transform your lives into a life of freedom where you can truly spend your time the way it delights your Gemini self. And naturally, what comes next? New connections, new friendships, maybe relocation, maybe you move to a new place, maybe you move to a different culture. Either way, this is when life truly is gonna start. Because these past 3 years, life was more like a prison or a slavery or an endless circle of drama, pain, tears, heartache, and now all of it stops. And the fact that those people who you supported and helped and sacrificed for are gonna show their true ingratitude is actually a breath of fresh air for you, because you need that so much. You know, you're the twins. One side of you suspects and knows, but the other one still hopes and wants to hear it, wants this confirmation, and you're gonna get it. So this is your time to finally break free from all of the drama. Now for natives born under the sign of Cancer, your cards are the High Priestess and the Five of Water, as in the Five of Cups in normal tarot. Now the High Priestess is quite a relevant card because its astrological correspondent is exactly the moon, your ruler, your ruling planet. So basically, because it's the High Priestess, so that is a lot of unconscious energy. And this time around, it is your unconscious that is going to slap your wrists and tell you that you truly need to change right now, because if you do not change, your Cancer specific attitude, as in a touch of idealism, a touch of emotions, dramas, believing in people for the sake of just believing them because that is what you want to do, shutting your eyes to the flaws, weaknesses, and negativity of other people because, well, you know, let's not judge them. Allowing other people to take advantage of you, and especially to take advantage of your so-called peaceful, passive attitude when you allow a lot of things, even those things which you really shouldn't allow. But at the same time, there are a lot of, let's say, fantasies, false hopes, false desires, and misaligned beliefs in your life which just need to end once and for all. Now, don't get me wrong, these things and your attitude and everything about you is not bad at all. Because, you know, a little bit of naivety, idealism, optimism, hope, this is just a positive way of navigating through life. So it is absolutely okay. It makes you a really positive and a really pleasant person to be around with. But when you just focus on one side of the spectrum, not many things in life are gonna be done, especially, you know, professionally. For example, you might miss out on a very important chance opportunity to climb up the hierarchical ladder for the simple fact that you don't feel like it, or for the simple fact that maybe you wrongly think that someone else deserves it and you won't even try. This is just an example. So basically, this is like you're living life, but that life is more like a constant daydream, lucid dreaming, and you're not really in tune with, external reality, despite the fact that your mind processes it. So you're always in a state of truth, but if you don't want to look at that truth, well then there's nothing your mental sphere, your intellect, your intelligence, your ingenuity can actually do for you. So the High Priestess, along with this Five of Cups, the card of disappointment, of course, well, it tells you that you really, really need to stop the way you look at life. Positivity is absolutely fine. Emotions and, love and the inner world, and to be psychologically okay, to nurture yourself, to block out negativity from your life, to block out challenges, confrontation. This is all a really good coping mechanism to get through life, but there are some karmic moments like this one when the universe slaps your wrist because you simply cannot apply the same coping skill, the same methodology from a psychological perspective when the whole sky and the whole world stage out there screams to behold the truth, because the truth will change you. Natives born under the sign of Cancer this October is going to be like a massive wake-up call, a massive reality check. You might be a little bit upset and you might lose your faith for a couple of days, but afterwards, the High Priestess is still the High Priestess. That is exactly when your unconscious is going to take over and it's going to do everything in your life that needs to be done from the past and present alike. If there is certain contracts that need to be terminated, well, that is exactly what you're going to do with courage and without being shy whatsoever and without taking other people's feelings into consideration at all. For example, there are so very Cancer natives who are not leaving a job, for example, because they love their colleagues so much. But money is money, and progress in career is still progress in career when the job is not good for you anymore because you're infinitely more skilled. Well, even if you love it, even if it makes you so very happy, sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. And these very delicate moments, choices and decisions are gonna be what your unconscious mind is gonna guide you to finally do and accomplish. So even though it's gonna be emotionally heavy, wishy-washy, you're not gonna be very optimistic and happy, but at the same time you're gonna be so down to earth and you're gonna do exactly what is needed in your life, professionally, materially, friendship, family-wise. If you have to move, then that is what you have to do. If you have to have a very serious discussion with your partner because you want some change and they don't, then that is what's gonna happen. So all the delicate decisions, confrontations, etc. are gonna be, enacted in this month of October. And this is where you have no choice because this is your unconscious doing it for you. And it's actually doing you a massive favor because after your life rearranges and you're okay with it, well then you can immediately go back into your Cancerian way of being, go back into your shell. Everything is beautiful, everything is love, everything is positive emotions. But right now, it is when you have to leave that shell of yours and do whatever it is that you need to do for your long-term material future. For natives born under the sign of Leo, well, the cards show that it's going to be a really, really fantastic month with a lot of financial opportunities for you guys personally. And even, your cards are the 10 of coins and the strength. And the strength card is exactly the astrological symbolism of Leo. And it even depicts the lion. So what a fitting synchronicity. And for you guys, it is really, really important because I'm not saying that there is no drama or pain or anything negative in your life, but this is where a celestial power, maybe the trine between Venus and the galactic center, trine Venus-Mars, or something, is going to activate your heart. And the heart is the core of every Leo native. The heart is everything. The heart is God, so to speak. And when your heart is empowered, maybe Vesta, the goddess of sacred flame, in your sign, in the sign of Leo, well, something is going to give you a lot of power. And this power is both emotional power, the power of love, and when you really love something, for example, you'd love to accomplish something, you love to have something, you'd love to help someone, you love to help yourself. That is when you become magnets, and this is where not even the universe can resist your magnetism, because your love is that strong. Your ruling planet is the sun, so of course you're full of creation energy. When you love something, you almost create it, and the universe just has to give it to you. But, of course, there is a cost to this, but a cost that you're willing to pay, no problem at all, because the cost is work, the cost is perseverance, the cost is ambition, and investing a lot of time into this. But since your lives are going to be full of opportunities, it's no problem at all. All you need to do is accept the opportunity, or maybe choose the one which fits you the most, and go and work. And it's not just about money. This is where you can complete some very, very important things that you always desired or are pending in your life. Like, for example, some natives who have a long-term medical condition which really made their lives more difficult than it should have been. Well, for these natives, there can be something like an operation or a treatment, or they finding some kind of alternative specialist who is really, really going to improve their health. And that is like a fantastic news. For other Leos, especially those who have debt, like credits from the bank, etc., some opportunity is gonna give them the chance to repay everything and be free from it. And that means happy life. For other natives, they can be very, very lucky, because the 10 of coins can either represent a win or a massive gain. Sometimes maybe an inheritance, maybe something paying out big time, a lottery win, gambling and winning, a donation, a present. It can be even from your friends, and it doesn't really specify where it comes from. It only specifies that it's big and it's gonna matter for you very, very much. It can also be an unexpected job offer, but the kind of job which is really, really high paying, or where the opportunities are really massive. And if a Leo native is exactly specialized at that, well, it's like manna from the heavens. But there's also a psychological factor to this as well, because once you get into a really favorable position, regardless of what that 10 of coins means, well, immediately you're going to feel that much stronger as a person. So your family, your loved ones, your friends, everyone important in your life is equally going to benefit, because if you are that very happy and proud of yourself, well, you're going to shower everyone. Not necessarily with the riches or whatever, but with your love, with your well-being, your positivity. You're going to go out there and be with your friends, help them. When you have excessive power inside of you, well, you don't just squander it, you go and share it. For example, if you have spare time and a very creative impulse inside of you, well, you immediately seek out one of your friends or acquaintances and you do something constructive with them. For example, let's say you win a sum of money and it's more than you need, much more than you need, and you're thinking of investment, and you know that you have a friend in your life who always wanted to do a certain kind of business or whatever. Well, you immediately go seek them out and you tell them, look, let's go do this right now because I have the money. There it is. But of course, this is just an example. So for Leo natives, it is actually going to be a very prosperous month where they can hit some kind of jackpot one way or other. May it be money, may it be health, physical condition, personal power, or in their careers. Now for natives born under the sign of Virgo, I'm not going to lie, the month of October is going to be extremely difficult. Not because it is going to be more difficult materially or physically, even psychologically or spiritually than any other month of this year, but mostly because this is when the time is truly up. Virgo natives might have had a lot of delayed decisions because, Neptune is exactly in their opposite house in the sign of Pisces. So that represents a very powerful infusion of morality, and whenever they have to make a delicate decision, let's say, well, their morality is the first criteria. And because of this, because they were so unsure of themselves, because they were confused, sometimes it was hope that confused them, other times it was despair that confused them. The rational and the logical choice was to put the decision back on the shelf until you have the power, clarity, or the inner strength to just go and do it. Regardless of what you choose, when you are strong enough to go with your version, well then that is the moment that they were waiting for. But unfortunately, in very many things, especially official things, because this justice card doesn't just represent decisions, but also official, legal, and paperwork, for example, everything that is susceptible to something legal in an earthly sense. It can be business related, it can be, for example, the final ruling of a divorce. It can be where they inherited something, like maybe years ago, but it is only now when they have to sort out the paperwork. Or it could also be where they suffered some kind of legal injustice, either from a company or from another person. It doesn't really matter. And it is only now when the legal case is in that situation where they have to go and do the confrontation. And maybe whoever wronged them right now is begging them to reconsider or whatever. And this can be a very difficult decision for a Virgo native, because a Virgo would like to just let it go and, let it get over and done with without anyone suffering. But this might be a situation where you cannot let it go, where you actually have to do what you have to do. So either way, a lot of very emotionally hard, but also intellectually challenging decisions have to be made. And these decisions are so complicated because there isn't right or wrong. There isn't even what I feel in my heart. There is just cold logic, the cold hand of earthly justice, and nothing else. And if it's having to sort out certain legal issues that stem from the past, maybe a business, paperwork, relations with the council, papers for a house, whatever that might be, well, that is extremely stressful for a Virgo native. That is stress, that is anxiety, that is overthinking, that is splitting the hair into 5,000. So, they're in for a very stressful period when it's decisions that they have to make. And it is exactly when they have to make, very complicated decisions alone, relying just 100% on their own ration, on their own anything. Well, that is a moment when they get into a quagmire and they just scream for the divine to help them, because this might be one of the most uncomfortable situations for a Virgo. But unfortunately, the month of October is gonna be when all deadlines run out. Either karmically, where the universe won't wait any longer, or legally, where it's actually the date. So, like it or not, you will have to confront everything that you feared. But the hidden blessing in all of this, well, this may take, let's say, a week, 2 weeks, even if it takes whole month. After it is done, it is like a mountain being taken off your heart, your shoulders. This is how you obtain freedom. This is how inner conflict, this is how what ifs, this is how regret, this is how overthinking actually ends. And the choices themselves and how the court rulings, maybe if it's a legal problem, or how the documents are going to be sorted out, won't really matter. The outcome doesn't matter. What matters is that it's done and you can live your life without these things weighing you down constantly mentally. And that is already happiness, because after you can just focus on all those things that truly matter to you. Your constructive projects, your work, doing stuff in the house, making sure that your friends and family and people who you love are okay. All the usual Virgo stuff. And of course, when you're so very okay with yourself internally, because there is no some kind of decision or a pending date or some kind of problem weighing you down and making you anxious, preventing you from sleeping at night, when none of that is in your life, well then you're so very okay, because Virgo embodies practicality, Virgo embodies innocence basically. So when these troubling thoughts and responsibilities and duties, which are one way or another rather illusionary, when these finally disappear from your life, well, that is when you can truly start relaxing. Even if it's sometimes some of these dates and decisions and rulings or whatever official business this represents, even if it's negative, like you lost or this is it, well, that is already positive for you, because it allows you to accept it and move on with your life. So this is exactly what's going to happen. Now for natives born under the sign of Scorpio, these cards are just as mysterious as their sign and everything that they embody. And it is so very ironic that exactly the death card opens their reading, because the death is Pluto, and Pluto is their governing planet. So some very strong, very impactful, fated event is gonna re-enter their lives. And if this is clarified by the Wheel of Fortune reversed, the Wheel of Fortune reversed can represent a loss, it can represent like a failed karmic test, it can represent a bad decision that you have done in the past, and that bad decision might have been out of sheer compassion, out of wanting to be the best person, not serving your needs and your interests basically. And naturally, because you didn't choose to serve yourself, life might have taken a toll. Life might have punished you for it. Maybe you lost some money, maybe you were conned, someone cheated on you, someone lied to you, someone deceived you. It can even be like something official. This is just an example so you can understand the nature of the event. Maybe you had a car accident, you went to the insurance company, surprise, surprise, they didn't want to pay out because they found a small term and condition which is highly susceptible, and they chose to be malevolent and not give you your money. But at the same time, this can be a friend who you gave a loan to and they didn't return it ever, and they don't even reply to your messages. But it can be something much deeper than that. For example, something stemming from your childhood, or it can be something that affected your whole family. For example, someone conned your family when you were little and you lost a house or lost property or lost rights or anything like that. So it is something really, really big, which, surprise, surprise, this Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the power of karma, is gonna turn it around for you in a most miraculous of way. So the death with the Wheel of Fortune reversed represents that you're gonna transform, or karma itself, destiny, is going to enable that transformation for you to take whatever misfortune the Wheel of Fortune reversed was, regardless of when it happened. But the thing is that it really impacted you. So it wasn't, like 10 euros. It was something that really, really, you depended on it, or it was very important for you. Or if it was a great old injustice done to your family, or anything like that, now that is what's gonna be turning around one way or another. You're gonna get your justice, or you're gonna be compensated. But of course, in some natives' cases, they're actually gonna be compensated in the sense that the bad done is gonna be fixed. So it's a gain, or it's a help, or it's some kind of justice. But for other natives, it is those people, or it doesn't matter, institution or whatever it was that created the injustice, is gonna have a really, really bad and dark fate. And ultimately, that is also justice, because if they would have been correct or righteous with you, you could have helped them. Because this is the kind of justice where you have the power one way or another to prevent their downfall, but because of what happened, they have to accept their own fate. So either you gain something in order to compensate you, may it be materially or karmically, legally, as long as it's a game. But it can also be where those people who wronged you face their ultimate demise and doom. It's game over for them. And that is also a karmic compensation, where whatever it shows you that the universe is actually righteous, don't mess with the Scorpio. And the main effect that this karmic event is gonna have on you personally, it's gonna increase your scorpionic power. It is going to basically fire up your unconscious mind and make it much, much more active, because this event is gonna shock you both negatively, as in recalling whatever happened, but both positively, that something did resolve it, something that is totally outside your human sphere of influence. So this is basically re-embodying your scorpionic magical power, if we can call it this way. Your unconscious mind, you're gonna manifest more and more and more stuff in your life, because this will greatly increase your belief in your own unconscious mind, in the universe, or magic, or the occult, or call it whatever you want. This is gonna empower you greatly, and you're gonna use this inner strength that is gonna awaken inside of you right now, later on, maybe after December, or maybe towards the end of the autumn, to do great things in your life. Now for natives born under the sign of Libra, I know I made a mistake and I accidentally put Scorpio before Libra. I'm really sorry about this. But now that I saw my mistake, I'm gonna do the sign of Libra next. And natives born under the sign of Libra, well, I'm not gonna lie, they are going to have a really, really difficult month this October, because certain things in their life terminate. There is nothing they can do about it, and this termination might really, really upset them. It might really unsettle them. It might even depress them deeply. But even if this is rather a dichotomy, what I'm gonna say now, this is a much, much needed depression, because this is how they finally accept that something in their lives are over, and there is nothing they can do to change this whatsoever. Nothing material, nothing human, nothing magical, nothing spiritual. Even if they would own a time machine, chances are whatever happened in their lives is permanent. Now this might be something which has to do with a relationship. This can be something, an old love that they just couldn't give up on. It can be a divorce that they don't want to accept, that they don't want to, cooperate with. They might be refusing psychologically, but also materially and legally, to do whatever it needs to be done. Either way, there is a psychological element to this, but there is also a legal element where whenever that termination takes place, well, it's gonna have material consequences. Now, naturally, the material consequences don't matter to them that much. It is the psychological element that really, really upsets them, because whatever this situation is, it can be a friendship, it can be a relationship, a marriage, maybe being part of a community, whatever, or maybe they have lost someone recently, someone important to them, as in lost, death, passing away. But either way, they are unable to accept the reality of it. They are unable to accept that there is nothing they can do to change it, or that there isn't any hope for the future. They might have been sabotaging themselves severely, that, oh, it's still gonna happen, maybe they'll forgive me, or maybe situation change, maybe the inevitable won't actually happen. But chances are that this is where they really, like it or not, they just have to confront reality and move on with their lives. That is the Five of Wands reversed. They have to stop fighting for it. They have to stop believing. They have to stop hoping. They have to stop investing energy and thought into it. They just have to accept their losses, just like the other person, or whatever the other thing is, whatever is causing this turmoil. But this turmoil, don't get me wrong, this isn't anything new. This might have been going on for years. This might be going on for a lot of months. But unfortunately, from a karmic perspective, this is when the universe decides, well, enough is enough. Because what you're actually doing here is wasting precious moments of your earthly existence, of your life, regretting something, dwelling on something, trying to save something that is totally unsavable, trying to bring back something which is already long dead. So whatever this is, relationship, divorce, even a legal situation, some people might not be able to process that they lost the legal battle, or that justice wasn't on their side. Either way, it's gonna be really painful and heavy, but you need this so very, very badly, because this fight, this optimism, this, there is hope. I can do it if I'm perseverant, if I show the person, or whatever the universe may be, that I'm a good person and I deserve this. Maybe it will come into existence. Well, I'm really sorry, it won't, and that is why you need to accept it, process it, purge it out, and then life goes on from there. Basically, this is like a resurrection, because you are dead inside right now because of whatever it is that you cannot accept, whatever it is that you're fighting for, an ideal, an illusion, a big dream. This is where it really, really has to stop. And when it stops, you're going to be reborn psychologically. And life is going to look so very different. Life in this present moment might seem like a prison. You don't have liberty because your thoughts are always in one direction. But when the prison shatters, you can do whatever it is that you want with your life. There is no right or wrong. There is just following your passions. There is just this rediscovering yourself, being someone totally different, unconditioned by anyone and unconditioned by the patterns of your own mind. When you release it, when you accept it, when you even escape from that reality, life can be so very different. And from a totally different perspective, these cards are so very uplifting and positive, Five of Wands reverse, Seven of Wands reverse, freedom. Freedom to live life the way you like. Of course, there is a touch of chaos, but chaos is so good because that is excitement, that is meeting new people, making new friends, making new acquaintances, going on adventures, going on trips, for example, enjoying all the small pleasures of life, breaking free from that monotone, each and every day psychological pressure, a touch of humor, a touch of fun, and naturally, because the depression which causes you not to give up, because that is basically a masked depression. It is nothing, it is not love, it is not attraction, it is not even obsession. It is a depression that just doesn't want to release you. Your mind is going to be so very different, light-hearted, full of fun, full of that Libra-specific optimism, the romantic vision of everything. This is when you can finally be your true Libra self. This is where you can go out and just even have fun, tell a joke with a random stranger and be so okay with it. And also the realization, the epiphany that outside that depression or whatever is causing you not to give up, outside of that you're so free, you're so very okay, you have so many opportunities in your life, you have so many skills and talents that you can invest into yourself, as in to make life be fun for you and serve you. So there's so very many things that you can accomplish. You don't need that partner, ex-partner, or whatever it is that you don't want to give up on in your life whatsoever. Your life is so much better without. And this is exactly why the universe triggered things this way. It didn't want to upset you. It was never a punishment. It was simply freedom. Nothing in existence lasts forever. Until it was okay and until it had a karmic reason, it was in your life and that's why it made you so happy or it was so important to you. But after it's over, you really have to surrender it. Now for the natives born under the sign of Sagittarius, well, your ruling planet, Jupiter, is in the sign of Capricorn, and the sign of Capricorn is all about material things or job or career or your own masteries or the physical area of your life, the material area of your life. And for some people, even the physical health, like bones and the skeleton. And even though Jupiter is not very strong in the sign of Capricorn, it is considered to be debilitated. Jupiter is still Jupiter, so there is a lot of good fortune or a lot of force and energy that it can bring into your life, no matter in which part of the sky it is. And that is exactly why for you guys, this three of coins, the card of work, profession, doing something, collaboration professionally, etc. is reversed. And usually reversed it would mean a loss, change of jobs, change of careers. It would mean not being able to work, not being able to do what you want professionally. But for you guys, it's not actually a bad sign. It's actually a very good sign because it tells you that either there will be unforeseen changes at your work, your job, business, career, whatever that represents your livelihood. But because of your lucky nature and because of your quickness of your mind, you are going to seize that as an opportunity to greatly upgrade your future plans and how your professional life and your career is going to look like in the future, because it's clarified by the Eight of Coins, which is a really, really good card. So for some natives, this can play out as simply abandoning an old job or the current job, but not because you want to, but because rather there might be troubles there, the business might be struggling, or because of this global situation. So it doesn't really have anything to do with you. It's not like you're dissatisfied. But because you can foresee that the inevitable is going to happen, you might be already looking for another job, another source of income, livelihood, etc. And something might actually fall into your lap, so to speak, something that you're skilled at, or something that you have studies at, studies which you couldn't have used in the present moment at this present job, or in the past, even in the more distant past. Maybe for some natives they have the qualification degree, the studies, the diplomas, but they never had the opportunity to practice. So for some, this can be the start of something totally new, like an apprenticeship, like a new journey on a new career towards reaching mastery. For other natives still, it can represent that they are staying at their current jobs or whatever, but the job is sending them to new qualifications, new studies, a course, a new diploma, a new set of skills. So learning something new, something very valuable, which is going to be that much more valuable in the distant future. But for others still, it can also represent where they abandon what they're doing in the present moment because it's struck down by, the global forces, and they're going to resurrect something that they were really, really successful in the past or before this current job. So either way, this energy for Sagittarius natives has so much to do with work, career, livelihood, business. It can be their own business, it can be their own project or whatever, but changes, some of which are not that positive, are gonna come and enter reality, but they will see them as opportunities, and they're going to turn everything around for the better, especially for the long-term future. It can also represent like a benefit, it can also represent like a project or some kind of program which is offered to everyone in their communities or for their category by centralized power, by institutions, organizations, the state, as a free course, as a free training, as something like that. And so in the lives of some natives, this is how it's going to play out. They're going to go and do it, and after they accomplish it, it's going to open totally new doors for them. So it is not just materially positive, but also psychologically, as in to do something new, as to step out their comfort zones and try a totally different domain. Now, even though, this period should be rather aggressive, assertive, negative, even for Sagittarius natives, but exactly because their ruling planet is Jupiter, it gives them the foresight. They're already over this. They already processed everything that is about to come. May it be intuitively, may it be they followed astrologers or people who can predict the future, and they emotionally already processed everything that is about to take place in the world. So they're more than okay. That is exactly why they can focus on the now, focus on the opportunities, focus on practical survival and well-being, and not the drama and all of that. So this is a really, really good energy for Sagittarius natives. For those born under the sign of Capricorn, well, this is gonna be a rather assertive energy, because Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter are in your sign after all, and then Mars, Aries, and Dark Moon Lilith squares all of those planets in your sign. So we can't really expect everything to be like rose-tinted, happy, joy, full of optimism and happiness. But surprisingly, it's not gonna be as bad as you think. Surprisingly, all of this is gonna trigger your faith, your beliefs, your inner spiritual structure. That has to go. So chances are it is exactly the divine. It is exactly how you perceive the universe, the divine, spirituality, the unseen powers of the world, karma, divine justice. It is exactly that inner spiritual energy, perception, maybe your highest philosophies, maybe the guiding principles, which steer you through life, that are gonna be deconstructed, struck down, demolished. But the pain or the heartache or the disappointment or this very profound spiritual crisis is not gonna last for long. Chances are it's gonna last a couple of days, and after then you become your most powerful and most influential self. The 9 of Wands. That is absolute power, trust and faith in yourself. You finally somehow realize that the universe isn't like a puppet master, who triggers and plays with our lives and destinies from an absurd point in the universe or from an absurd dimension, but rather the universe is something that is alive inside of us, and it all depends on our own attitudes. Because if we embody the archetype of the creator, when we are our own creators, and that means that it is our responsibility, duty, and our most important job and task in this lifetime, well, that is to take care of ourselves and to be our own gods, our own guiding spiritual forces and life, not in a satanic or egocentric way, not at all, but rather to show self-love, diligence, wisdom, to make our relationships with other people as fair as we can, to project onto others what we also like others to project onto us, and that's all it takes. So this is where once and for all you're gonna totally stop expecting outside help, as in, when you await that the great cosmic intelligence triggers something in your life or fated events make everything okay. Now that is once and for all, it's gonna disappear from your heart, from your mind, from your life. So that basically stops once and for all, because you will realize that is not the person who you are. You're not a beggar, and neither do you allow yourself to be a puppet of any force, may it be man, god, demigod, or whatever, to play you and treat you like a piece of chess figurine. No, this is where you become your own master, your own ruler, your own god, and as long as you have morality, equity, dignity, humanity inside your soul, well, you have absolutely nothing to fear that you might make a wrong move or be abusive, because no, that is exactly why you rebel against the mainstream spirituality, so to speak, because you will see the self-serving nature of that energy, of the karmic energies even, and you say enough is enough. I'll be the master of my own life and existence, and the very second, the millisecond that you say that, proclaim it, may it be saying it out loud or just internally, that is when your life is gonna start. That is when the universe is definitely gonna conspire in your favor, and the only condition is for you to believe in yourself, in your goal, in your principle, in whatever you're gonna do. This is when all dramas, all weaknesses, all being caught up in the karmic waters, in the entanglement stops for you. This is when you take spiritual especially and karmic rulership of your life. Your life will be as you want it and not as anyone, man, human, God, demigod, even the infinity of the universe. No one else can decide in your life except you, because this is your life, this is your journey, your body, you are taking care of yourself and your physical form, so you get the chance to decide, and this is how it should always be. And this spiritual epiphany is gonna truly change your life around. But this is just the month of October. It won't, a totally different life won't manifest yet. But this is how you slowly but surely reach these spiritual conclusions and purge yourself out of all doctrines and other people's or mainstream spirituality. This is where spirituality is what you make of it and not another person or whatever. Because, if you think logically, it was invented by people and people's perceptions. If someone could do it, why can't you do it? You're not less intelligent, you're not less philosophical, you're not less anything that whoever sourced humanity's greatest spiritual principles. So it's much better to trust yourself and immerse in your own story and journey and just distance yourself away from everyone else's illusionary principles and philosophies. And this is ultimately the greatest freedom that you could possibly create for yourself and in your life. Material freedom is one thing, mental freedom and emotional freedom is one thing, but spiritual freedom, that is total freedom, that no one can take away from you ever. For natives born under the sign of Aquarius, well, this month is going to be rather confusing. It is going to be really, really up and down, dual, with very mixed messages from other people, from society, from the spiritual forces, from their partners, and even from themselves. Now, Aquarius natives are going to be in this loop of constant stagnation mentally, but not because they have any kind of problem within them, but rather I think they are the sign which is most affected by this global uncertainty. Like, Aquarius natives need to have plans, Aquarius natives need to have goals, Aquarius natives need to have the drawing board where they make calculations, where they predict certain things, where they ambition themselves to complete the task on the to-do list. But at the same time, on that blackboard, there has to be a lot of things which are fun, which are different, which are a little bit challenging. And of course, Aquarius natives are so very okay with chaos. Chaos, uncertainty, unforeseen things, surprises, shocks, delights, even awkward moments don't really unsettle them. They can very much adapt themselves, play with them, and even see opportunities in the most negative things. They're not people who are scared and demotivated and broken down very easily. But the problem is when the whole world and the society that they exist in, even the local community, is so very confused and it is so very passive. Well, life gets, like it or not, a little bit monotone, a little bit boring. So, what do Aquarius natives do when everything is put on hold? The whole planet is in a stagnation, when the whole planet is undecided of what they want to do in the future. And Aquarius natives are all about the future. They are the most futuristic, visionary, ingenious, Einstein-like people. So a big stagnation, and when everyone else is really confused, that's not a good vibe for them. But of course, they will not choose to let this ruin their happiness, their well-being. And that is exactly why these two cards reversed, the Nine of Air, and emotion and intellect, represents that they're absolutely fine waiting this out. But even while they wait it out, even when they have to put their big future plans, their strategies, their big to-do list on the hold, may it be professionally, personally, regarding their children, their partners, everything in their lives, they can put it on hold, no problem at all, as long as there is something in their lives which makes it exciting, fun, even if it doesn't involve society in general. So this is exactly what Aquarius natives are going to be doing, really, really trying to tap into their visionary, ingenious spirits to find some activities or something to do to make life fun, and to make their everyday lives be reflective of their true personality. And exactly from these attempts of trying to figure out new and fun activities, some might be escapism, some might be spending much more time on the internet, playing games, maybe some people gambling a little bit, trying out really, really old hobbies, trying out things which they are not really talented at, but they might feel the impulse to give it a try and see what happens. So it's gonna be really, really interesting for Aquarius natives, because they're gonna do a lot of things which isn't really specific to them and their personalities to make life much more fun. And out of these attempts, even when most are just gonna be chaotic, they're just gonna allow their minds to dream up the most unusual ideas and naturally enact them, and from them they might even surprise themselves, because truly ingenious, truly like big future projects, potential ideas, plans, whatever they want to try out in the future, but these are big and they go for the longer term future when the world enters a totally different kind of normality. This is not going back to the old ways, but rather when everything and society, the economic, social, political climate is at least stable, they are gonna come up with the most ingenious ideas and adventures and projects that they want to try for the future. So they might just record it, write it down, tell it to their best friends, partners, parents, whoever, their confidants. So all throughout the month of October, this is more like a massive brainstorming. But this brainstorming, well, it makes the present more bearable, more fun. They tap into the unlimited power of their intellects. But for the long-term future, some Aquarius natives can actually already have a massive breakthrough, jackpot, colossal success idea within their grasp. So whatever unusual plan you come up with, don't label it as fantasy and forget it, but rather try to somehow either write it down, record it, or make sure that you're gonna remember when the world, gets a little bit more stable, because you have jackpot written all over it. It is the energy of ingeniousness. The Nine of Air is fantasy, it is in imagination, but every human invention in the world was born out of imagination and fantasy. And then the harmony of intellect and emotions, well, that makes it all be alive. That it is like breathing creational energy into that thought. So that is a wonderful combination, but they're reversed because this isn't applicable right now. This is for the future, but don't discard it. Don't ignore it. You are gonna have an intellectual jackpot in your hands. Now finally, for natives born under the sign of Pisces, I'm not even sure what to tell you guys, because it's not that this is negative, this is so very positive, but there isn't anything specific. These cards don't show an event, they don't show not even a karmic pattern, they just show the following state, if I can even call it this way. So that is what I have to tell you. Well, we have the Palace of Fire clarified by the King of Fire. The King of Wands, sorry. But that basically means that there is this very passionate, strong-willed conqueror king living in his throne, in his castle, in his palace. And the only possible thing that this combination of cards means is that you're gonna go out and conquer something, achieve victory, triumph, success. Of course, you are already investing a lot of power into it, because that is exactly why you are the king of Wands, but you are gonna conquer it, you're gonna achieve victory beyond your wildest imagination. Now, what that is, I'm not really sure, but because of these Wands energy, it has to be something you're very, very passionate about. So if it's a project, you have to love it, you have to believe in it. If it's a romantic relationship, well, it has to make you really, really happy. If it's a person you're in love with, well, you really, really have to love that person in order to conquer them and turn it into a relationship. It can be something you want to do for yourself. It can be something you want to do for others, maybe for your family. And this palace, it can even mean this is when somehow you're going to buy a house. You're going to get a place of your own. It can mean a myriad of things, but any possible interpretation represents victory, success, achievement, accomplishment, and not the kind of accomplishment where after, when you get it, when it's done, your passion dies out immediately. It's gonna make it that much bigger, better, long-lasting. So it is something really, really positive, but is under a shroud of mystery because the universe doesn't name what it is. It could be that every single Pisces native individually will enact this one way or another, what's important in their lives. But it can also mean that you already worked more than enough, regardless if just psychologically, materially, investing time, effort, or spiritually, or whatever in the recent past, and now it has to come because you did everything that you had to, and when there is a massive karmic moment, affecting the world in general, well, it can just cascade on you like a waterfall, the results, the fruits of your labor. So this victory might really be well-deserved, because if you lived a very compassionate life, especially all throughout 2020 and 2019, well then you have really, really good friends and admirers up there. May it be spirit guides, or may it be just the stars and the planets which influence our realities. Either way, you must have done something really, really good, because this isn't the kind of thing, this is karmic, don't get me wrong, but this isn't the kind of karma where it's fated and destined and it has to come one way or another. This is the kind of karma where you done some kind of work out of your own sheer initiative, and then you made this, you created this moment for yourselves. So this is purely optional. So it's even better, because not only are you going to do yourself proud, but also the universe, the divine in itself. So it's really, really positive. And the King of Wands is also the kind of energy where it can be doom and gloom on the planet, in the lives of people surrounding you. It can be any kind of disaster or social, economic, political turmoil ravaging the world. But this is where that's their world. That's not your world. And that is exactly why all the bad karma and all this is very unlikely to even touch you and even do anything in your life. Well, this concludes your Tarot-scope. Thank you so much for listening. I would really like to apologize for mixing up the Virgo-Libra order. But Mercury is in shadow and I'm a Gemini. So it is absolutely normal, and I'm sure I'm gonna get much more of that. Mercury goes retrograde officially. So I would like to close this Tarot-scope by thanking all of you and inviting you to please log on to 1millionnights.com if you'd like a personal reading. We have a lot of advisors coming from very different spiritual traditions who would love nothing more than to help you, guide you, and advise you. And also we have a special promotion where if you buy any of our prepaid packages, you get 10% bonus credit. Thank you again, and wish everyone a blessed month of October. Until next time, bye for now.